Hi everyone, I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you for joining us today for our weekday live 5 p.m. Pacific time talk for about half an hour to discuss and answer questions related to the field of U.S. immigration, a very confusing field with lots of issues, especially under the current president, lots of ups and downs. We're going to get into in a second, but this is a reminder that this is just general education only and intended just to give you some guidance about what the situation is, but you should consult with an attorney in private about your case, and results vary and all that kind of stuff. So with that, let's get it started. Okay, so the immigration world is on fire as usual. We'll talk about some of the most recent ones as your questions start to trickle in. But what's important to reminder is that if you need to schedule a consultation in my office, just email me first, info@jqqlaw.com is my email. Briefly describe the immigration issue that you have, and then I'll let you know if it's the type of case my office handles or refer you to a colleague, and if there's a fee related to that, I'll let you know what the fee is to have that discussion. But what is going on in immigration? The big news right now is that allegedly USCIS has ran out of money or is quickly running out of money, and they're going to be furloughing employees. What does that mean? They're going to temporarily let them go because they can't afford to pay them. And so we'll see what happens, but obviously if the people are not there to work, what consequences are there going to be for your cases? Well, the obvious answer is delays. And delays are something that you all have been used to if you have a case pending, especially because of COVID-19 and the shutdowns that have been happening with regards to interviews and the embassies. But in general, immigration has always been a process that's taking forever to get things done. So that's a big issue that's popping up, separate from COVID-19, separate from everything else, is just this furlough situation, which is a mess. And I'm going to get into another one in a quick second that's problematic, but let me answer a quick question that was asked right here on TikTok. The question was, hi user 493. Reina says, I have a question. My boyfriend and I are getting married. We have a baby. I'm a legal resident and the rest of your question is cut off. Please let me know what the rest of your question is. And I'll probably need to know a lot more information, so I doubt I'll be able to answer this. But Reina says, he has DACA. How long will it take for him to become legal? Well, that's a complicated issue, so I need to know a lot more information about his background and your background. That's not a question that could be answered here. One, because the timelines are shifting a lot because of current conditions, but importantly, he might need a waiver, he might need to leave the U.S., come back in. There's a lot of things going on in your fact pattern that it's impossible to honestly and professionally answer you like this without having a consultation. So if you like, just send me an email and we can schedule that consultation and take it from there. User 493 says, any H-1Bs coming back with stamped visas smoothly? Well, I don't keep track of that stuff, but if someone, it's very possible. I mean, why not? Saki says, when embassies will start opening? Well, some embassies are opening, some are later. You need to check with the embassy that you're dealing with to see what their record is, because every country has a different situation that they're dealing with regards to COVID-19, the country that they're dealing with. So if you have a country that doesn't have, you're going to a U.S. embassy interview in a country that doesn't have much COVID-19 problems and they're opening up, maybe the U.S. embassy will open up faster there, but another country that has major issues, it might take longer. So you just have to be patient. Check on the website for the U.S. Embassy of that country that you're looking for to see if they provide any updates. And the embassy itself might update you when they schedule an appointment or when appointments open up. So really just check on their website. Don't ask any lawyers. The State Department will make a decision, let everyone know. That's the best way to do it instead of asking these questions, because anyone you ask that's not in the State Department or officially from the embassy is not going to know the most up-to-date information. So you look in California right now, they opened up the restaurants, COVID-19 went up, and really because of protests probably, and right now they're shutting the restaurants down again. So that could just as easily happen in the embassy setting where they'll open up and then re-shut down if a lot of people get sick. So it's not a realistic expectation to think when are they opening, when are they not. It's just something we are doing day by day and experiencing it day by day. And the best thing to do is to check the embassy's website to see what's going on there. That's the true, honest answer to that. Well, with regards to that specific question of embassies opening, one issue I've been dealing with, a lot of questions are being asked is, are K-1 fiancé visas subject to these travel bans? Can people doing fiancé visas come here? Because what's happening is some embassies are telling people who have K-1 fiancé visa cases that their foreign fiancé is subject to the immigrant visa travel ban, which says that a person who's getting an immigrant visa cannot come to the United States until the end of this year, 2020 at the very least. So it's a pretty messed up situation, and it's wrong. The immigrant visa ban blocks people who are applying for immigrant visas. But according to the statute, according to regulations, according to the Department of State, everywhere you can find, a K-1 fiancé visa is a non-immigrant visa. So it's a major mistake several of the embassies are making. Right now they're shut down anyway, so they're not doing interviews, so it doesn't really matter. But once the interviews open up, if you're not getting K-1 scheduled, that's a big issue that has to be dealt with educating the embassy, contacting legal authorities above them, and maybe even filing a lawsuit if they play this game because it's incorrect. K-1s are non-immigrant visas. Now, there was a non-immigrant visa travel ban, but that only applied for work visas under some categories of H1 or H, and some categories of J visas and L visas. But again, K-1s were not included in that. So it's a big mistake if they decide to impose a travel ban on the K-1s, and that's that. But keep in mind, there are other travel bans. So if you're from Iran, for example, there's a travel ban for that, both regards to COVID-19 and both regards to security basis. If you're from China, there's a travel ban for that because of COVID-19. And the way to get around those COVID-19 travel bans, which also applies to Brazil, most European countries, the UK, Ireland, is you have to leave that country for about 2 weeks and to go to a country that's not travel banned and then be able to come to the United States. So it's really tricky. There's a lot of things going on. So if you're worried about your case, you really should consult an immigration lawyer in private. But that K-1 situation is really messed up, really scaring a lot of people based on a mistake and misreading of the proclamations, the executive orders that the president put out. And so I was hoping to educate people here and let you know that if you have a K-1 visa, the right is on your side. The laws are on your side. It's just a matter of informing them. But with all that said, we got to wait for the embassies to open up to even do interviews, because right now, even if you're right, it doesn't matter. And so hopefully they'll be educated when the time comes to do that. And several embassies, from what I hear, correctly are putting the K-1 as a non-immigrant visa, which means not being subjected to the travel ban. I should have done this at the beginning, but let me remind you that we're here live on TikTok every day, Monday through Friday. Immigration Lawyer John is the username you can look up, and Mondays and Fridays on Facebook. All this might be switching up soon if I start doing less Q&As like this, but for right now, Monday through Friday on Facebook, Tuesday and Thursday on Instagram, and Wednesdays live on YouTube. The handles for everything but TikTok is it's JQK Law Firm, my office, JQK Law Firm, and you can find the recording of these clips and a lot more information on the YouTube page for JQK Law Firm. And on the Instagram page, I also post copies of approvals and a lot more information you won't find anywhere else, and that's JQK Law Firm Instagram page. Just check that out. If you're on TikTok, you go to the link on my profile and it gives access to all these things, including my reviews, website, newsletter, all that kind of stuff. Definitely check it out. So let's see what other questions are popping. User49 says, man, you are on one handsome lawyer. Well, appreciate that. Thank you, User49. Alexa says, I filed an I-130 for my husband in Nepal, and today we got approved and got sent to the National Visa Center today. Well, congratulations on getting your I-130 approved. How long did it take to get that I-130 approved? I'm interested in hearing. And are you a U.S. citizen yourself? So are you a U.S. citizen? How long did it take? Now that you're on the MVC stage, you need to start preparing the documents, uploading them so it's ready, but it's not clear when the embassy will open up for the interview. Now, if you are a U.S. citizen spouse, U.S. citizen filing, you're not going to be subject to the immigrant visa ban like you would if you're a green card holder, but you still have to wait for the embassy to open up, and so that's the thing on its own right there. Ernest asks, hi, I'm active duty military. My wife has DACA. How could she become legal? Because you are active, this is a really good question. I get this frequently. It's a big plus if you're active duty military. So typically, most people who have deferred action for childhood arrivals or DACA entered without permission. Some of them, many of them, entered with a tourist visa and then overstayed. And I filed one of these cases last month for a client. But most of the time, they came with their family without permission. They didn't have lawful entry. And because they didn't have lawful entry, they can't apply for a green card. They cannot apply for a green card while in the United States unless some certain rare exceptions exist. For example, your wife got DACA. If she had a thing called, if she didn't enter with a tourist visa, like with legally, let's say, if she got a thing called advanced parole and travel came back, that would have fixed it, or a thing called 245I. However, there's an additional thing that could create the legal fiction of entering lawfully, and that's a thing called parole in place. And if you're a immediate relative of a active duty military person, your wife would apply for parole in place, And this would create a fiction that she entered lawfully or with a thing called parole, and that would give her permission to adjust status. That's the terminology for applying for a green card in the U.S. Adjust status, which based on the statute INA 245, which is a green card based on, family kind of stuff while in the United States. I'm getting too technical, it's not needed. But essentially, first you have to get a thing called parole in place based on being a spouse of a military person. Once that's created, then you just apply for a green card based on your relationship. There's financial stuff you have to submit, proof of relationship, more stuff out of background. But it's a great way to do it. You should jump on it and do it as soon as possible. And if you're interested in having a consultation about this, email my office, info@jqqlaw.com. Remind me what your situation is. Fees do apply for consultations, but we'll take it from there. But that's the thing. First, we'll look to see how your wife entered, and if there's other exceptions, so we don't have to go in and apply for parole in place. But if it doesn't, you file for parole in place, PIP or PIP as they call it, in the biz. And then you apply for, once that's approved, you apply for adjustment of status, and wait for that to happen. Hopefully the interviews pick up for USCIS so it can happen faster. But it's a good system, and you should just do it sooner rather than later. Why not get that green card as soon as possible? Meet asks, any updates, sir, about Social Security office opening? No, just go to their website or go to the local office, call them up. Every Social Security office is different. So, in New York, if COVID-19 is bad, that office is going to be shut down longer than LA. So it's not a question you could ask. Every office is different. So yeah, San Francisco Immigration Court is open. Well, go check out the website for the courts and you can look that up. Probably is not. Most of the stuff in San Francisco is closed down because of the staying home or whatever that order is. But if you have questions about something being open, just go to the website, call them. I'm not in charge of every single office to see what's going on, so I'm not the person to ask about that. Margie asks, how many months can we stay outside the United States if I'm a green card holder? Okay, let me get into that question a bit. So how many months can a person stay outside the United States if they're a green card holder? It depends on the officer that you're dealing with when you enter the United States, first of all. They could be strict, they could be not strict. And it depends on how much you care about citizenship, because the absences could be a problem. But the first date that becomes a problem is if you're outside the United States for more than 180 days. Because if you're outside for more than 180 days, when you're re-entering, the officer at the border could question you about the underlying status that you have, get into your finances to see if you're a public charge, and they have the authority to really question you and create problems for you. Do they do that typically? No, they don't do that. So I'm not too worried about that in most cases, unless you're constantly outside the United States for that period of time. And if you are going to be outside the United States frequently, just apply for what's called a re-entry permit, and that'll give you up to 2 years outside the United States, most of the time without a problem. They can still hassle you, but they typically don't. What you really don't want to be out of is more than a year. Because if you're absent for more than a year, that's an assumption that you've abandoned your status and they could take your green card away and send you to removal proceedings for a judge to make a final determination. Now in practice, I see people all the time staying outside the US for 6 months or a year. Hasn't been a problem, but it can be. So it's something you should be prepared for. Can't guarantee you'll be fine, but getting the re-entry permit is the thing to do in that situation. So the things that I talked about right now are about maintaining the green card, not losing your green card. Now, if you're outside the United States for more than 6 months, more than a year, frankly, if you're frequently out for 4 or 5 month periods, that could be a problem for applying for naturalization or citizenship. So that issue could exist as well. So there's an idea of maintaining it, the worry about maintaining it, keeping your green card, and then there's citizenship and applying for that as soon as possible. Both are affected in different ways, and both have different things to protect that and ways to show that you really are not abandoning your residence in the United States, maybe by keeping a house here, keeping a job here, keeping family, property, and a lot of other things. It just really goes into consulting with an immigration attorney to check out your unique circumstances. But that's a long answer, and it could be longer. I'm going to keep it short because of this conversation. But these are things you need to talk with a lawyer to be safe about, or not, whichever you prefer. But that's the situation there, the answer to that question. Now we have a question on Facebook. Alejandro asks, my case was updated to be, quote, to be scheduled for an interview. Is this still going to happen? I mean, because coronavirus, thanks, green card man. So Alejandro has a green card appointment, a green card case is pending. They did the initial review, and so they sent the case to the local office, because when they first get a green card case that's applying for in the United States adjustment of status, you send the case to a centralized location, probably Chicago in this case. They send it out to a service center that does an initial review. Once that initial review is done, looking at your finances, background, if they don't have questions, they send the case to the local field office. the USCIS Immigration Department office that's local to their address, their residential location. And there, they'll make a final determination, sometimes do an interview. So when the service center sends it to the local office, the online website, not always, they don't always update it, but when they do update it, they'll say your case is waiting to be scheduled for an interview. And if that's the case, then you just have to wait for an interview to be scheduled. We don't know how long it's going to take, and this is a question I get a lot. Just because it says that does not mean that your interview is going to happen anytime soon. It could happen next week. You'll get an appointment scheduled. It could happen 2 years from now. It just depends on when they have time to see you and visit and for you to come or approve it. So you just have to be patient. There's no timelines. Right now, green card appointments, right now is June 29th. Green card appointments are not happening, or green card interviews are not happening at USCIS. Their priority is naturalization, so they're not doing those kind of interviews right now. So, at least for the next 2 months, you won't be getting an interview, most likely. But it could be longer, and I don't have an answer to that. No one does. But you have to be patient. But I just wanted to say this because when you get that update on USCIS.Gov, now it says your case is ready to be scheduled for an interview, it creates this false hope that your interview is coming up quickly, but it's not necessarily the case. And so you just have to be patient for them to schedule it to you, but it doesn't mean in actuality it's going to happen anytime soon. And thank you for your question, Alejandro. I appreciate that. Okay, let's go back to TikTok and see what's going on. Gulsha, good to see you, Goli. Alex says, do you recommend expediting at the embassy stage? It's not a matter of recommending it. If you have an appropriate reason to expedite, give it a shot. It just depends on your case. That's how it is. Gatti says, are they taking green card appointments? Most of them are not. Probably not. Ernest says, hi, I'm active duty. How can I get my wife's papers? I did answer that already. If it was a different person asking this, just check out the video for this. Will be out in a couple days. Raj says on YouTube, JK Law Firm. Raj says, I sent my I-765 EAD, that's an employment authorization document or work permit, renewal application almost a month ago, but didn't receive letter how long it take. And that's, I'm just reading a quote for the sentence. Well, you should get a receipt. So, I mean, it shouldn't take that long. I mean, once you might get the case, you should usually get a receipt notice in the mail a week or two later. I don't know what's going on. Try contacting USCIS. I don't know what to tell you. See if you track the mail to see if they actually got it. But that's that. I mean, it should be happening by now. A month is a long time to wait for a receipt. Not unheard of, but, that's a while. Okay, we got a lot of people in the group. Let me see what the next question is. Chaitan asks, hey, sir, I want to know about my brother-in-law. Just got approved his asylum in last February 2019. What do you want to know about your brother? You're saying he brother-in-law got approved asylum in 2019. I don't see the question there. So let me know what that is. I don't know if I can answer, but let me know what that is. Zizak says, is the K-1 visa a part of the Trump travel ban? Well, Zizak, I just did a long conversation today when I started exactly answering that. So catch the video of this on YouTube on the JQK Law Firm page. I'll have the full interview, full Q&A I'll have me here. And I'm going to edit that clip and put there as well. Probably on Wednesday it'll be up. Check it out there. I have an in-depth discussion. I don't want to repeat it here for everyone who's already seen it, but you'll catch it there. Chaitan says, so he already applied for his green card and still waiting for fingerprints. It's gonna take time? Yes, it's gonna take time. That's the easy answer. Okay, Sak says, how long should it take for administrative processing? There is no how long it should take. It takes however long the government wants it to be, but if you feel like it's taking too long, maybe look into filing a lawsuit against them to hurry it up, but it's a case-by-case specific. Zad says, any update on marriage green card? That's any update on life? I don't know. That's not a question to answer. You need to have a much more specific question. And once you get specific, you should probably contact the lawyer and talk in private. Yad says, after EAD, I'm waiting for interview. Yeah, just gotta wait. Ziggy says, hi, how are you? I just got approved in the N400. So you got your N400 approved. Congratulations. Congratulations. Hopefully you have your oath ceremony soon and you'll be a U.S. citizen. Ziggy asks, they send my approved for both cases in the set they give. Ziggy, you gotta write these questions much better. I have a hard time following what you're saying. Raj says, new asylum rules and work permit rules are also affect those who already filed asylum. They fully haven't come into place. A lot of these new asylum rules and regs are in talks, so I don't know exactly if they will or not in the final presentation. You just have to be patient. And if it does apply to you, there's nothing you can do about it anyway, so just deal with it as it comes. Safe says, sir, can I apply for a business visa? Currently have asylum visa. Probably not, but it really depends. There's no such thing as a business visa, first of all. So that's why it makes it hard to answer these questions. There's specific types of employment-based cases or investor kind of cases, and it depends on what your status is, where you're at, all these kind of things, what your basis for asylum was, whether you were honest when you got your tourist visa, whether you enter lawfully. There's just way too many things. And, you know, if you're going to a business visa, they're probably making money. Just, you know, consult with an attorney in private. That's the place to go to ask a question like that. You're welcome, Yada. All right, so we caught up on our questions on TikTok. Thank you, sir, for sharing the feed. If you haven't already, please, you know, follow on TikTok, Immigration Lawyer John. And I do these daily videos here. You'll catch me every day live there. You can ask your questions there. I don't post as many or barely any day-to-day or 1-minute TikTok clips anymore. I prefer, you know, having this conversation, this live format. I think on TikTok, I'm one of the top live people. It says when I shut it down that I'm in the top. So it's good to have all this audience coming and talking about this kind of stuff. But the immigration issue, there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of details need to be known. And even if you're in the right, the thing about immigration is you could be 100% correct. It doesn't mean your case is going to get approved. It doesn't mean there's not going to be delays. It doesn't mean there's not going to be mistakes by everybody involved. And that's the annoying part about it, but that's the realistic thing about it. So don't get frustrated when things happen. It is frustrating. I have to fight them all day, every day with USCIS, the State Department. But it's just the way things are, unfortunately. Immigration is really hard, it's complicated, people are busy, they don't pay attention. You know, the government's confused about the things they put out there. They don't give proper guidance. So there's constantly issues like this that pop up. And it's just, you know, when you have a lawyer, it's their job to keep on top of it and see what they can do to you know, move things forward, to educate people as it goes forward. So that's the situation with that, and you know, we try to do our best in the immigration process. Now, as a reminder, there's a lot of information on the YouTube page, JK Law Firm. Just go to the channel, JK Law Firm, go down to videos, and you know, there's hundreds of videos there. There's gonna be hundreds more coming up in the coming months, and hopefully get to 1,000 pretty soon. Just talking about every little aspect of immigration, so you're prepared for that. You could go over it and have an idea of what's going on, and if needed, consult an attorney. But at the very least, for free, you have a way of, you know, accessing that and getting some information there. Just go search in the page and look through it. It's on the Facebook page as well, and you can catch the stuff there as well. So that's a great resource to have. And so right now, yeah, the big worries are, do these travel bans affect me? People constantly are leaving comments on YouTube asking about various preference-based categories. So when you're applying for a family-based green card, typically there's two sets of family members. There's what's called immediate relatives. These are parents, minor children, unmarried minor children, or spouses of U.S. citizens. They have their own category, and they're usually set separate. And so the travel bans that exist usually don't apply for immediate relatives except parents of U.S. citizens. So if you're filing for a spouse of a U.S. citizen or minor child of a U.S. citizen, travel bans will not affect them. There's a special category that they usually protect, but not parents of U.S. citizens, so they're subject to the immigrant visa travel ban. Now, other than that immediate relative category, then we have the preference categories. These are people who have lines to get a green card. Many times there's delays of years and years to get them. And these are, for example, adult children of U.S. citizens. These are brothers and sisters of U.S. citizens. These are children, spouses of green card holders, or adult children of green card holders who are single. And so these, all of these people will be subject to the immigrant visa travel ban. Now, there are exceptions to travel ban. If you're doing some work that's in the national interest, if you get some sort of waiver for a travel ban or something, the travel ban I'm speaking of is the immigrant visa travel ban due to COVID-19. So these exceptions do exist. Now, in addition to the immigrant visa travel ban, there's the COVID-19 travel ban itself. The one I was talking about earlier is because the U.S. President Trump said, we don't want foreign people coming here and taking our jobs, because once you get a green card, you can work in the United States. So that's one travel ban. But there's the other one of, you know, just us being in the U.S. being scared of people coming here who are sick. And that affects much of Europe, China, Iran, Brazil, and that's a separate travel ban. So there's all these levels of travel bans. There's more in that you have to deal with. They're all new, and it makes it really hard for non-immigration attorneys to follow up what's going on. It's very confusing, but that does exist. So if you're in one of those family-based categories, and even appointment-based categories, it's going to affect you. Now, they have exceptions too. For example, the EB-5 category, immigrant investor program, people who get green cards based on investment, there was an exception in one of the categories, one of the travel bans to them. But as you see it, they pick and choose how it goes, and sometimes spouses of green card holders are waived, sometimes they're not. And so you really have to check the individual circumstances to see which one applies to the fact pattern of the case. And that's what makes it hard when people leave comments on YouTube asking these questions. I need to know a lot more information before I can give you an answer, because there's not just one travel ban. There's a lot more that goes along. And so it's impossible to answer these. And I hate to be, I don't want you to think I'm being rude by not answering. but it's just not possible for me to answer a complex question in a quick blurb on a website. So the real thing to do is to consult with the lawyer in private to see what's going on. All right, there's a question here. Mello asks, what countries has the least amount of immigration to the United States? Well, that's hard to answer. There's a lot of countries that have a small amount. I mean, they're typically countries with a few people. Probably, I would guess, North Korea is the country with the least amount of immigration to the United States because, the nature of North Korea. So I'm guessing that's the answer. I don't know for sure. Ashley asks, hi, my fiance applied for a green card and is waiting to Trump new executive order would affect the process. I don't know. It depends on what your fiance's background. I just got done talking about this detail, but I would need to know. It's exactly the question I just answered right now. So I would need to know about your fiance's background before I can answer that question. Just have him schedule a consultation and we'll check it out. Okay, so we're nearing the end of the show today. I want to thank everyone who joined to ask questions. It's a pleasure to be here and help guide you through this confusing period of U.S. history. You're all part of history, which is the interesting part about it. But, shoot out these questions. If you have some last ones before we go, on Facebook, JK Law Firm, on TikTok, Immigration Lawyer John. And if you're on YouTube watching a video of this, post your questions. What I'm going to do is I'm not answering them in the comment section necessarily, but I'll make separate, shorter videos answering you, and you can always check back on JK Law Firm to see those questions being answered and get your answer. It may take some time, but at least you'll have a resource there that you can refer to in the future to get this kind of information. I know it's confusing. I'll do my best to get that info out, and a lot of people have the same question, so it might not be your specific question that's answered, but someone else will be in the same position as you, and they could get the guidance that they need. So with that, I'm going to be ending it pretty soon. If anyone has some last questions, let me know now, or forever hold your peace. And with that, I want to thank everyone for joining. I'm John Khosravi of the JQK Immigration Law Firm. I'm a professor of immigration law. I teach at various law schools here in Southern California. I train other immigration lawyers in a thing called the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. And I also practice immigration law, helping people from across the world come and live in the United States, work in the United States, be with their loved ones here, become citizens, and to just expand and make our country even greater than it was yesterday. And I still think that's what's happening, and I really take pride in helping you come here, take things to the next level, get away from those countries that hold you back, and come and get that freedom that we have in the United States, freedom of speech, freedom of press. They're taking this stuff away from us, but hopefully with you here, you could help fight against these kind of things so we could experience more freedom and growth and success. Mr. Abu, you're asking, is the F2A banned? I just discussed this in detail. You might have came in late. Catch the video from today. Probably on Wednesday, it'll be posted on the JQK Law Firm YouTube page. You get that there. We'll take two quick questions. Ashley says, he applied for asylum, got approved February 9, 2019. Okay, I don't know what, there's no question there. Scholar said, Shuck Rule says, my cousin wants to bring his brother here. Is that possible? It's possible. It's going to take a long time, but it's possible. And Kana says, is H-1B pre and processing starting today? I don't know if the exact date is starting. Just look up Form I-907, Premium Processing at USCIS. I'll have a breakdown of the days where things are happening. In June, it was supposed to happen, but I don't know exactly what date it is. But just check that out. All right, everyone, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I hope you stay safe and stay warm and not cold and all that kind of stuff. Be safe. God bless. Bye-bye.